Hey everyone, we're going to look at how to do exponential functions on the graphing calculator and talk about some of the properties that go along with them. So first thing we need you to do is go ahead and pull up your calculator, and we're going to do the function exercise 1. So we got y equals 2x. So to do that on the calculator, you go to y equals, you do 2, and then use the caret symbol, which is right over here. Okay. There's your caret symbol. Press that button and then press the X key. Then we're going to get points from the table. They want us to do -3 to 3. So they give me decimals. You can also write them as fractions because we did talk about exponent properties. To kind of stay consistent with this, I'm going to write them as fractions so we can see that relationship again. So we got these 7 points to put on. Okay, so you can go ahead and graph those. Just be careful with the ones that are fractions because they are still positive. So like 1/8 would go about here, 1/4, and 1/2. And then we got 1, 2, 2, 4, and 3, 8. So, important fact, please make sure you keep that arrow above the x-axis. Okay, so that's going to be kind of what the first one looks like. I'm going to go ahead and erase that. Now, they want me to do, for exercise 2, they want us to do 1/2 x. So, I'm going to go ahead and write in, change this to a 1/2. And then exponent to the x, second in graph. And what you're going to see actually is you're going to see the opposite of what we just had in the last one. 1/2, 1/4, and 1/8. So then again, this one's going to be pretty similar to the one we just did. It's more of a mirror image. Okay, so this one has, that one should stay above the x-axis also. Okay. So, a couple things that you'll notice. Sometimes we talk about growth and decay on exponential functions. Okay. If that value in the parentheses, sometimes they use the value for b. If that b is greater than 1, then your graph is going to tend to increase. And then if b is less than 1, it's going to be decay. It's going to be decreasing. So you can kind of include that on your notes just as a reference, and that has to do with that value where the exponent is. So sometimes they call it the b value. Now I'm going to go ahead and go to exercises 3 and 4 because those are based on the ones we just talked about. So domain for each of these is all values, all real numbers. Okay, so you can do interval notation, and we've been talking about that quite a bit. But it goes from -infinity to infinity. And then the range is going to be, based on our table, it's going to be everything greater than 0 up to infinity. Now I am not including 0 because on my table I don't get to 0. Actually, if I kept going, I'd have more fractions, higher fraction denominators, which means it's close to 0 but doesn't actually touch it. And the other part was our exponential functions 1-to-1. Well, you can think about if they passed the vertical and horizontal line test. So did each of these pass the vertical line and the horizontal line test? Okay, and then you can come up with your own answer for that one. And then for exercise 5, they want us to do the function 7 and 3 to the x. And they want us first to do the y-intercept. And it says justify it algebraically. So if you were to, in the case of this, the y-intercept would be when x is 0. So if you do have 7 and then raised to 3 to the 0 power. Anything raised to the 0 power is 1. So that means the y-intercept is going to be at 7. Okay. And based on what we just talked about, this is going to be an increasing exponential function because that b value is greater than 1. It's 3. And they want us to create a rough sketch labeling the y-intercept. So I'm going to put a point here for 0, 7. And we know it's going to be increasing, so it's going to kind of look like this, going up and crossing at 0, 7. Okay. Now for the last one, exercise number 6, we have 1/3 x to the, and then it's plus 4. So how does this function compare to the one we just talked about? Well, we know 2 things. First off, this is going to be a decreasing function, decreasing exponential function, because the number in the parentheses is less than 1. And adding 4, what that's going to do is it's going to shift everything up 4. So all the points will be shifted up in that way. And then determine it algebraically, kind of like we just talked about. It's when x is going to be 0, so it would be 1/3 to the 0 power plus 4. So for this right here, you'd have 1 plus 4, which would be 5. So we're going to have 0, 5 as a y-intercept. They want us to do a rough sketch. So again, this is going to be decreasing. So it's going to look something like this. It's going to come down through and then level out. Somewhere, in this case, above 4. I'll actually raise that up just a little bit. I got a little too close to the x-axis because we got that plus 4. So it's going to be shifted a little higher than the one we just talked about. So the big things we got to talk about and recap is, when that b value is greater than 1, it's going to be increasing. When it's less than 1, it's going to be a decreasing exponential function. And then also you want to look for any other values that could be added, because it could shift it in certain directions, like this one got shifted above. And other than that, as you're looking at the homework questions, just make sure that when you talk about the fractional exponents, that you make sure to write those fractions in the calculator.